Hi, this is Crystal from Crystallized Designs, and today I'm going to show you how to work the mattress stitch. When you're joining two crocheted pieces together, there's several ways to join them. I prefer the mattress stitch. It seems to be the most invisible, and it seems to be the quickest for me. So there are different ways. You can use the mattress stitch with garment pieces, squares, anything you want to join together. So you need your pieces that you want joined. You need a yarn or tapestry needle. You need preferably the same color yarn that you will be sewing with. And I have contrast just for visual purposes. You may need locking stitch markers or any kind of extra yarn. I, for large pieces, like to lock rows together on the opposite piece just to make sure that I'm sewing it properly. These are small pieces, so I don't necessarily need to lock this together. You can also use a basting stitch, which is a stitch to keep them together evenly that you're going to remove later. I also have a scissors here for cutting off any extra yarn that I may not want. When you cut your yarn, you want at least double the length. I have slightly more than double, and that will help just make sure that you have enough for both ends and weaving them in. For this tutorial, we're going to work off of the last rows so you can see the actual stitches, but you can definitely do raw edges. All of my sides on my raw edges that are sewn together, use the mattress stitch along the raw edges, so that's definitely something you can do. So go ahead and thread your yarn needle or your tapestry needle. And I like working from the right sides because then I can see exactly if it will be visible when it's worn for a garment, to say. If I work from the wrong sides and I stitch this together and it may not look proper from a side or from like an area, you can't see that until it's done. So working from the right side with the right sides together can definitely help with that. Alright, so I have my yarn. I'm going to make sure to leave a little bit of a tail. I'm going to insert my hook into the first stitch from the back to the front, and I'm going to leave several inches on the bottom. Then on the opposite piece, and you can do this from either side, I'm going to insert from the back to the front on the adjacent stitch and pull that through like so. Now I'm not going to pull them together yet. I want this to be secure, so I'm going to do the same thing in the same exact spot. So I'm going to go from front or to back to front in the same spot. And these end stitches are a little bit harder, especially if you're working with a turning chain, or you try not to get in the way of the camera. Okay, the first one went in a lot easier. There we go. Okay, so by going over this twice, this should hold it into place, and I'm just going to kind of pull that tight, and then we're just going to continue through the stitches working back and forth from back to front, and then on this side from back to front, back to front, back to front. Now you can either lay these pieces next to each other like I have and continuously work back and forth, or you could fold them together like this, back to front, actually inside to outside now that I have them joined, inside to outside, inside to outside. Now obviously I'm running out of yarn, so I'm just gonna give it a small tug, and you see how that makes it nearly invisible, and I'm pulling, and I can't really pull this out. That when you go over that a second time, that is what secures that end. So I have a little bit more of a bulge there, but with the edge, you really cannot tell. So I'm going to do a few more like this. So inside to out. Whoops. Lost my yarn needle here. Inside to out. Inside to out. Inside to out. And I'm going to pull. So very little teal is actually showing through. And I'm just going back and forth, and then pulling it. So let's do a few more flat. And again, you don't have to work this on square pieces. You don't have to work this on garment pieces. This can be different shapes of a blanket. This can be really anything that you want to join together. This is my preferred method, though there are many different ways. Oops. I do like to keep my yarn a little bit longer than double just for this fact, but I didn't want my ends to get in the way. So that is why I'm losing my yarn here. And then because I am losing more getting towards the end, I'm going to pull every few stitches. I find it quicker to actually hold the pieces together and go from inside to outside. And we are just about done. You want to make sure you don't skip any stitches. And we are on the last ones here. This is my turning chain. Okay, so now I'm pulling that. You see very little teal. It is such a nice, smooth, consistent piece that you really don't have any humps from either side. And it just, this is my preferred method of attaching. So that is the mattress stitch. And again, use the color to match the swatch or the piece that you're crocheting. If you do want that visible, then absolutely by all means use a different color. But that is how you work the mattress stitch.